Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to Video Games to the Max, episode 264. This is Sean Garmer, your host, and with me as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And that wasn't the best intro either, but hell, we're just going to go with it because you have no idea how many times we tried to start this show and then something happens, including losing power for the entire night. So we're actually doing this in the morning, which should actually be the time that I'm either waiting for Jens to finish editing or just doing the upload process, which is like writing the description, doing the timestamps, all that. So we may still, hopefully, depending on Jens not being super busy, may still be able to get this up at around the same time as we usually do, which is usually 2 in the afternoon or something. But, so this is probably about the 5th time that we've had to restart the show. Thankfully, we never got more than 5 minutes into it before something happened. But, yeah. So, that being said, there's not a ton of news like last week where you just had these major headlines that we could easily just give us great topics to talk about. There is some big news and then just some smaller stuff. But, of course, we've also been playing some games. Jens was going to be on last night, but obviously due to technical difficulties, can't, so Marc will be the only one talking about Persona 5 Strikers today, but at least he's made some more progress.
Yep.
And I've been in the beginning stages of Bravely Default 2, so I'll get to talk about my early thoughts on that. I finally finished East 9, so now I just have to do the hard part, which is, playing it in a quick time frame is also not the easiest thing to do, but writing it sometimes is more difficult than just sitting there playing, so gotta do that part. And yeah, I did get a code for Retromania. I basically downloaded it because it's less than a gig, but I haven't gotten to play it yet. But out next week, I'll definitely have some thoughts on that. So just letting you know what's going on. And Randy did say that he's almost done with Little Nightmares 2 review. So that should be up pretty soon here as well. So that being said, I do know that WandaVision finished as well. I watched that yesterday before going to work. You watched it too?
Yep.
All right, so
the night premiered.
Yeah, definitely going to be talking about that at the end because I'm sure everybody has their time where they have finished. Either they've already finished it, or maybe they were waiting for the whole thing to come out or whatnot to watch it. So stay tuned to the end, and we'll talk about that. But let's start with this. This is a story that anybody that covers gaming has been pretty much dealing with since 2019 when Nintendo announced that there was a Switch Lite. Everybody basically assumed that there was a more powerful Switch Pro also coming because Nintendo does iterations on their stuff, especially the portables. We saw it. I own the 3DX XL, and I bought it with Xenoblade Chronicles. And I didn't beat Xenoblade Chronicles, but I got pretty far after never owning... I didn't own the Wii. My dad had it. I never had that game for it. So, I got pretty far. I got to finish it with the Definitive Edition, but my point was, I was one of those that was sucked into the 3DS XL, and, it's going to have exclusive games, and it's going to be more powerful, and all of that stuff. Turns out there was, maybe 3 games. One of them is now on the Switch, or 2 of them.
I know, 2. Yeah, Xenoblade and Kid Icarus was the 3rd.
Yeah, there's another one, some weird game that I can't remember right this minute. And then Monster Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
As well, was also paired with it, and it actually ran better because of the 3DX XL. So, probably figure out what I'm alluding to here, but Bloomberg came out with information that really points to, okay, this is getting made. This is not one of those oh, it's a pie in the sky rumor, somebody said this, whatever. Seems like concrete information, and I wrote about it as well for Last Word on Gaming. I'll put both the links in there as well, just so you can read it there in the description. But yeah, pretty much what it is that Samsung made a lot of OLED screens, the organic light emitting displays that, of course, were big deal with the Vita when they came out, and of course then they went to then they later went with the LCD, right, for the second iteration.
Yeah.
They stopped making the OLEDs. The Switch went the opposite way. They made the LCDs first, and because Samsung has all these OLED displays that are just kind of sitting around that they didn't get to actually put out there and distribute, they're kind of cheap right now. So I think Nintendo is taking advantage of that and saying, well, we need to make a Switch Pro or just another iteration of the Switch, and now it will be a 7-inch screen with that OLED display. So now basically think about that black bezel that's around the back of the Switch. That's going to be the entire screen now, pretty much, instead of just having the black bezel and then the screen.
Yeah.
And if you only have a Switch Lite, that's probably even smaller for you because it's a 5.5-inch screen. So, yeah, I mean, so that's cool. Like, that means you'll get to have a bigger screen, especially, obviously, if you play handheld like me, that's even better. But supposedly the big movement is also going to be that on the TV, when you dock it, it's going to be 4K. Not native 4K, but the upscale 4K. So it'll look nicer. You would think that also means that there's going to be more power put into it. There's going to be maybe a different chip that goes along with it. How much of a iteration is that going to be? Is it going to be like the 3DS XL where it's like a little bit of a step up? Not that much? Or is it going to be a full on, okay, we're putting that next version of the NVIDIA Tegra chip in there? That part was not explicitly stated at all. So we don't know that part. But what we do know is the larger screen and the 4K. Mark, just looking at those two things, as somebody that owns the Switch as well, do you care about that? Would it be enough for you to buy another one?
The new screen would be nice, but like we kind of said like last week, 4K doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the new screen will also improve battery life, which is probably good.
Yeah, because the OLED screen is supposed to be less, it's supposed to be helping with the battery. But I think it wouldn't just be the display. They would have to change some things inside of it as well to help with battery life. Because right now, Bravely Default 2 really eats up the Switch. Like, I think the most I played for 3 hours, and it got, I want to say less than 3 hours, and the power went from 100 to like 15%. Pretty cool.
Well, that's a consequence of you having your Switch for whatever 3 years, right? Or at least over that,
yeah,
right?
But like, I don't know if it's just that it's the launch Switch. I think also remember the Switch, the launch Switches, that's their average time portably is like around 3.5 hours.
No, but you've had it if you had it at launch or, damn near, that's almost 4 years. Like, batteries just lose power after, that amount of time. Yeah,
true. I've also been I also go between using a third party. It's approved by Nintendo, the Nyko charger. It's one of the only ones that were ever made that can actually charge. You can charge and play. It's powerful enough to charge and play. And I use that sometimes. And then I also, dock it to charge it. So I don't know if that has anything to do with possibly lessening the life of it as well. But I still feel like, compared to the Switch Lite that gets you up to like 7 hours now because it has the better battery. They've already shown how they can improve the battery by not really improving the graphics. So let's see what happens when you now are doing something to make it display at a higher rate. What will that do to the battery? But that being said, it is still going to be 720 on handheld. So what I had talked about, where you needed to move it to 1080. So, alright, yeah, so I think ultimately what's going to make a difference here is, will Nintendo put a better chip in this thing to improve the performance that could really improve the life of some of these big games that are coming, like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 or the Pokemon Legends Arceus that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Or wherever Metroid Prime 4 is, in the cloud somewhere.
Fantasy.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think I'm in the same boat, being honest here, as I've considered buying the Switch Lite because I'm a very portable person and like portable gaming person. Like I've always had the 3DSs, the DS, the Game Boy, all that. So, as soon as this thing has always been something that even when I was mostly at my house, I still took it out and played it portable. Usually the only time I put it on the TV is so that if I'm writing a review, I know what it's like on the TV.
Right.
So, but I mean, that's pretty much it. Most of the time I take it out and I just play it everywhere. I take it with me to work or whatever, so it doesn't really make a big difference to me. What will make a big difference is if you're going to tell me that it's going to improve the power of the system and some of these games that have a hard time running portably, well, at 720p and, that are having problems hitting like 30 frames will now run a lot better. That would make a difference for me to go, well, I do want to spend the $400 that it will most likely cost to get this. But without a performance boost, I feel like it's not, I wonder really how worth it is for people.
Yeah.
Do you think that they'll release it without just the screen and just the dock can now do 4K somehow? Or?
Well, it'd be nice I don't really care about the screen per se, but it'd be nice if they could just get the dock by itself. And like that would work with the old Switch.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, like the Switch, the dock itself has like basically nothing in it. Like it's very, like that thing is like mostly plastic. Like the circuit board in that thing is like very small.
Yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot to improve the actual like quality of anything.
Yeah.
So, and like, I think I remember what I was talking about is that, last week I had said, oh, well, don't you want the tablet to be 1080 at least, handheld? And yeah, I would love for it to be at least 1080 because, most phones can do that no problem now.
Yeah, but most phones can't. They don't run games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, most phones are not. They are not just costing $1,000 or whatever these new phones are because of they can run a 1080p screen. It's
right.
All the other stuff they have in them. And if you do move it up from 720 to 1080, it would help in the whole not so much having to lower the quality of the game to work on both, which has already been a problem. I found out in researching to write the article that a lot of developers have made it an issue that they're not big fans of having to basically do almost basically like a Series X and Series S thing.
Two versions of the game.
Yeah, so now it's even a bigger gulf in quality that you're talking about from having to do upscale 4K to 720, and how much is that going to mess with the experience if you're not adding any horsepower inside, which was what makes me think that you got to do something. You got to be adding something, but is it big enough to where you think they could have exclusive games?
I doubt it, because the amount of Switches that are already out there, I think would piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, that would be my thought as well. Like, I get it that they've done this before. It's not, I just talked about it with Xenoblade. Had the 3DS XL, blown the doors off, could they have considered more? Don't know. But, that's the thing, is, will we ever get to a point where, this seems like it's just it's a mid-gen upgrade to get them to another 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years of the Switch, and then you get a Switch 2 or whatever it is that they're going to do after this. I know there's a lot of people worried about that, but I feel like it's safe enough to think that this is just going to be like PS4 Pro, Xbox One X. It's an upgrade that it's nice to have. It will definitely play your games better. You'll notice a difference probably, but we just don't know that information right now. We only have two things, the two major things. And yeah, as right now it doesn't read like this is a Switch Pro, but it feels like there's information that people weren't able to obtain yet that will, lead us to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't call it the new Nintendo Switch or something like that, because that's just asking people to get confused. Like, if you want to call it the Nintendo Switch Plus, or I don't know what other Nintendo Switch Pro or whatever, call it something that doesn't scream, "Oh, is this a new Switch? Do I have to buy this now?" Like
the Switch dominant.
Yes. Yeah. So I just feel like you definitely need to come up with a good naming convention there for that. That's not going to be too crazy. It's weird for us to feel like much more real than it has in the past. I think all this stuff's cool. I just want to see what the full breadth of it is, and which game are they gonna pair with it. I mean, are they gonna release Breath of the Wild 2 at the end of this year? Because it didn't seem like Aonuma had a lot of... I mean, the way he was saying it felt like we don't even know if we're going to have information to tell you. Right. So, was that he was trying to make sure that nobody inferred that there could be information, or was that because...
It's probably because he just didn't want to get people like too crazy, because he's seen what's happened before.
Yeah, and I think also you got to remember that right now COVID is still raging in Japan as well. There's still a lot of a lot of sectors of Japan are having an emergency situation. So at the time, I think he's just like, well, I don't know what's going to be going on to be able to tell you if we're going to have information on Breath of the Wild 2. But also, Breath of the Wild 2 is definitely a big enough game that could have its own direct. So whenever they want to drop that news, they certainly can, and people will be ready to gobble up that game. So, they did say they wanted it around for the holiday season. So you imagine if this is really getting, going, which they said, I think everything is going to be, there's supposedly dev kits already out there, and that everything is going to be going into like production in June for, that holiday release time. So we'll see. I mean, again, we just saw... Nintendo's released things without, like, a proper game that would really show off the system before. And Microsoft just did it. Of course, they have Game Pass, but Nintendo also has all these previous games that you tell me, oh, they run better and look better. That just means people may just decide, okay, well, this is a Switch I'm going to buy, and now I'm going to buy all these games. So,
right.
Yeah. We'll definitely, I'm sure, get much more information as that, goes along. But before we continue on to talking about those games that we're going to be talking about, we should discuss Grammarly.
Yep.
And I don't have Jens here to eloquently lead me through this, so
just have me.
just Marc. And as people that write quite a bit. We use Grammarly a lot. I don't know how many times it has helped me when I think that I've got this sentence down, or I think I know how to spell this. I mean, it goes beyond just being a spell check, which is, I think what's great about it is I can be using something and it tells me, hey, this comma doesn't go here. Hey, this word, maybe you should think of a better one. Like, just things that help you, and especially, I think, anybody that's a student that is, writing any papers. Randy's going through that right now. He's writing papers for his school. I'm sure he really appreciates Grammarly. Definitely, I would tell you, if you don't use it right now, it's free. You can download it. You can put it into an extension in your Chrome browser or whatever browser you use to make it available to just edit anything. But if you use our special offer that we have, you can get the premium version of Grammarly for a discount. And you can do that by using getgrammarly.com/WTMnetwork. So if you put that into your browser, sign up, and actually, go through the process of signing up, you'll help us out. And, hey, get yourself a tool that you can definitely use. So, I mean, and this is not just for in school. I mean, if you write a lot of emails and you find yourself sometimes figuring out, oh, well, what should I say? Grammarly can help you with that too. So,
yep,
definitely should check you out. So let's move along. Move along to the next thing here, and I just wanted to ask you, how goes the Persona 5 Strikers journey? Are you close to finishing, or?
I think I've beaten 5 dungeons. I think there's 3 left, I want to say. I'm getting more into it. The gameplay is better, I think. I'm better at it. Yeah, it's good. It's just weird because it still is not that that battle focused. Compared to what I would think a Dynasty War should be, or what.
I think that's what they didn't want, though. I think a lot of people, they didn't want to have just
non-stop battles.
Yeah, exactly, because that's not what. I mean, yes, there's a lot of battles in Persona.
Yeah,
but there's also a lot of times where you're not battling. So, I think from what you guys have described and some of the footage that I've seen, it feels like they did a great job of giving you a lot of what Persona is in a game that is perhaps a bit more. Would you say it's more accessible than?
I think not at the start. I think it's a little overwhelming at the start, but then you can kind of get break into it or get deeper into it, which helps. I had a quest early on where I had to it's like Persona 5. You have to fuse Persona or 2 Personas in one with a special skill or a skill for a request from a character. And I completed a dungeon and I had to have 1 Persona be level 29. And it was only level 24. So it's I'll run through this dungeon and just use this 1 Persona and level the hell out of it. And I finished a dungeon and it was 25. And I was something's off here. What's going on? And then I realized in the Persona menu or the fusing menu, there's an option to just raise your Persona level with these this currency that I've been accruing all this time but forgot to use. And I was oh, I forgot about this. Let me just pop this, and I completed that quest instantly because I could raise my Persona to that level in a minute. And I was oh, okay, this makes this a lot easier now.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. That's good that they have that ability to be able to.
But like I said, I think the game kind of front loads a lot of information at you, especially if you don't regularly play Persona games or for Persona 5. That it may be overwhelming, or you may just forget certain things.
Yeah, because that's the thing is Dynasty Wars is really dumbed down. One. I mean, there's sometimes where they give you a lot of objectives. I remember playing One Piece Fire Wars 4 is all of a sudden they'll just throw random objectives to you mid battle, and you're oh crap, I got to rush over there, rush over here.
Yeah.
At least. I think it's just like anything. At first, it feels like a lot, but as you keep playing, you eventually get it.
Yeah.
I know, like you said, you had played the game all this time, and then I saw that you had mentioned, I just now figured out how to level up my Persona.
Yeah.
And I was well, okay. I mean, that's the same thing with me. I don't think it's anywhere near the Xenoblade level where I went through almost the entire game not knowing what the combos really did.
Yeah.
Until at the end. And I was oh my god, you know how many times I would have beaten a boss, so much faster if I knew that this is what you're actually supposed to do?
Right, yeah.
So I think as long as they explain it well enough, then,
Yeah. Or it's including a guide, or hey, remember this?
Yeah. Hey, remember this? So, I think that's the crux of it. I mean, at least the thing is you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Although,
did you get lost in dungeon again, or?
No, the dungeons. I mean, they're getting better. Or aside from that one, I just did this one dungeon where I have to it was very much tunnels. You'd go down a path, but then you'd be warped to a different path, and that was pretty good.
Oh, the one where Jens was talking about, where he basically had to keep going and going.
I think so. Yeah.
The right way.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Are you having a certain party that you like to use, or are you kind of bouncing around? Or
I like to stick with the main character, obviously. Although you can swap him out, which is pretty interesting as well. But main character, I like Sophia, the new character, quite a bit.
Does she have anything special that she does? Or?
Well, she has like yo-yos as her weapons.
That's cool.
But she's also just very like her persona, like mainly. I think Bless is her persona, which is pretty much good against most things in that game. And she can also heal. And yeah, I just unlocked the other guy, which is I haven't used him a ton, but yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, that's always good to know that they put in new characters and they feel useful.
Yeah.
Unlike was it Royal? You guys felt like Kasumi is not.
Well, she's like such a non-factor in most of that game. Like at least 80% of that game she's not in. So
that's not great. I guess they didn't want to change it too much from regular Persona. So
yeah, or she could just be edited as DLC later on. So like, wouldn't surprise me honestly.
Yeah, I wonder if they would add in DLC. I hope that they're not like thinking about doing the Royal thing and just making an expansion to add in Royal stuff.
Oh, I doubt it. I really doubt that. Like, but if they said like, hey, here's Kasumi and like a new dungeon for $10 or something, I'd probably buy it.
Yeah, that would definitely be more like the Dynasty Warriors thing. Here's a character. Here's a little bit of. Here's some missions that revolve around them, and yeah, sure, charge $10-$20 or whatever. Or the usual like, oh, here's cost. What's Persona does a lot as well. The costumes.
Yeah, there already is some. I don't know if it's costume, but there's some bundle on PSN for like additional. I think it's music.
Oh well, that's always good. Have more music. So never gonna complain about that. I was one of the ones that bought every freaking song for Persona Dancing.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to have every song I could. So the music is. Do they have like a lot of new tracks or?
They have some. Like every stage has new music.
Okay, that's.
But there's also like a lot of like classical like Persona 5 music. Like the boss theme is the boss theme in Strikers.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's great. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of that music is good. So.
Well, I'm glad you're still enjoying it and learning things as you go along. It's always good too. Yeah. And hopefully we'll get to. Maybe you'll get to the end by the time we get to next week, and we can kind of. Yeah,
I probably will. Like, I'm on day. I think I'm like on August 24th, and like August 30th is like the last day in the game. So.
Yeah, definitely. So, you randomly one day was like, "Hey, go request this," and I had no idea what it was, and so I just sent in an email, and you're like, "There's this game called Breathedge." So people who have no idea, like me, what Breathedge is.
It is a sci-fi or a space version of Subnautica.
Okay.
And Subnautica is like it's a survival game where you're given like a home. Yeah, you're given like a home base and like a few blueprints and like materials, but you're basically told to like survive and build up your base and craft a way to eventually escape your circumstances. Like in Breathedge, you play like like a mortuary guy, like attendant on a spaceship. Like this spaceship is like full of bodies, and then you crash into like an asteroid or something, or I think that's what it is. And then like you're awake, but your whole ship is like in pieces around you, and you're told to like find a way to craft a way to get back home because it'll take you 6,000 years to be rescued.
Gosh, really?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's fun. It very much is like Subnautica. Like, craft a knife, and then, you have a basic, like, tool, and then it's like, oh, to get to like the next upgrade, you need 10 pieces of wire and 20 pieces of copper. And, that lets you craft like the next incremental upgrade, and then it's like, oh, now you need, other materials. But then you also have like food and water to worry about. Yeah, it plays really good. Like when you're out in space, you have very good movement out there. The problem is it doesn't run that well on my PC for some reason. Like it's Unreal Engine, and like I'm having a beast of a time getting this thing to run correctly.
Why?
Like the first time I ran it, I just got like a black screen, and I'm like, all right, that's not encouraging. And like second time I got to the menu and I hit play and nothing happened, or I just like went to like an infinite loading screen. And the third time I got into the game, but it was kind of janky, and I'm like, what's going on here? And like the fourth time it ran okay, but like I always had this like thought in my head, like, is this going to come crashing down around me? Like it's not like Unreal Engine, so it's not like that weird, but I think this game is like building a very big environment, like the space around your, little spaceship. So I think that the level is much bigger than most Unreal Engine games.
Yeah, they definitely want to be, adding to it. So,
and there's like no loading screen. Like once you get into the game,
oh wow,
it's pretty much there. So
that probably helps a bit.
Yeah,
as well, having no loading screen.
And it has like a lot of like kind of quirky humor, like not like a Borderlands, but like Journey to the Savage Planet, or like that type of humor. Some people don't like it. I think it's fine, or it is what it is. You can always just turn it off too if you really want. But yeah, it's not like combat focused, or I get to even see any other like alien creatures or anything. It's mainly just flying around this space environment trying to pick up materials.
Sounds rather relaxing.
Yeah. Subnautica was like that too. Like some of these games, like this game does have like a hardcore mode, like where thirst and hunger and oxygen are like very important. But like I'm playing like on the story mode, so it's like barely a factor.
Okay. Well, hey, you don't always have to be trying to be like ridiculous about everything, So sometimes it's good to just kind of sit back and enjoy what the game's trying to offer you, and sort of just understand the concepts and not, oh my god, I'm having to go straight into, oh, my character's constantly dying because I run out of oxygen and I run out of water.
Exactly.
So
but
never really likes to play like that.
Yeah, but one of the other weird things is like to create like the basic tool, or I had like a quest to like create this like communications tool, and I needed like 10 pieces of wire, or like 10 pieces of scrap metal, 1 piece of wire, and like 1 piece of copper. And I got the copper and the metal fine, but like it took me like 20 minutes to find the damn wire, and I'm like, this is not fun. Like, if you're gonna have like this be like an early quest, have it be around the ship, like somewhat.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. That's weird sometimes where they do that. Like, I get it when you get later in the game and they, you have fast travel or you have some kind of like way to. You kind of know where stuff is at that point, so you know a quick way to get there. But at the beginning, when you're still searching for everything, like that's weird to have you try to find something that's not close to where you are.
Yeah, and it was like, I looked on like a guide, and I was like, oh, wire's like a very common element, and I'm like, not where I am, or it's like...
So you don't feel like it's something that you went, I just missed that, or whatever?
No, I was looking for it, trust me. And the game actually does display, like, when your raw materials fairly okay, and I did not see any. And once I finally found it, I'm like, oh, I mean, that's what it looks like, and then I went back to where my base was, and I'm like, there's none of that where this is, so...
Yeah, I mean, at least you found it, though, so...
Yeah.
It's so nice nowadays to be able to just... I mean, we had this when we were younger, too, but it's like, man, I don't envy the times or before our generation at all, of now I'm stuck. I can find, like, 20 videos, or, something, a Reddit post, a fact, or whatever, here's how you solve this.
I was going to say, gone are the days of text-only game facts where people were, like, making ASCII art of maps and stuff like that.
I mean, those were helpful, but it's like, man, they took so long to make that by the time you would really have to do trial and error and get lost in a game or whatever. And I mean, it's cool because those were times where you would find stuff that you go, oh, I don't think I was supposed to go over here. But
like Strikers is the same thing. Like when Jens was bemoaning like that one request that kind of bugged out on him, I was like, well, just wait a week or wait a few days, and there will be a guide for every one of these quests on YouTube. Or
exactly.
I mean, I found a video for that like that night, and like I showed him like right where his item should have been, and it wasn't there. So then it was like, okay, well, this game kind of bugged out right here then. Like, it just didn't spawn.
And that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, I think for sure, like, it's just the ease of it. Now Sony has it built into their PS5. So
yeah.
they did it as a way to get people to buy the Crash.
Do you ever, use that? Or I barely ever even used it.
I've never used it, but I mean, East 9 is pretty nice about, like, telling you where stuff is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the map isn't always the best about telling you where stuff is, but you eventually find it. Like, I haven't played a game yet where I felt like I needed that. Maybe if I would have played Little Big Planet more or something, I could have used it, but yeah, I just don't. Or if I played Demon's Souls and I wanted something that was there instead of going to YouTube, maybe. But I just haven't played a game where I would need it yet.
Right. The other thing I'll mention real quick, along with another space game, I got into Everspace 2.
How is that? I know that's
that game rules.
So.
I really like that game.
So that's like the 4X.
No.
Thing?
It's like Freelancer, or it's like like Colony Wars, or like it's a space simulator game.
Wars. Okay, it's space. Okay.
Yeah. I have the first Everspace, and I played it for like a half hour, and I really didn't like it because in that game it was very much like there's no story. I don't think, like, very minimal story. And it was basically like a roguelike. Like, you were meant to die, and, like, once you died, you got, like, points to spend to, like, upgrade your pilot. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, in this type of game. So in Everspace 2, there's, like, a story, and you're playing, like, a character. I think you're playing the same character from the first game, but, like, now you can't respawn every time. It's just, like, you're, like, a dude. But yeah, it plays really good on a controller. It's very complicated, but it just feels very, like, intuitive as well, so that helps.
Yeah, it does help.
It's very pretty. It's in early access, so it's not finished yet. I mean, I haven't beat it or anything, but it just feels great. It reminds me of Freelancer, which is, like, my gold standard for this type of stuff. Especially since, like, Star Citizen's never coming out, so.
Yeah. Well, that game is just in another galaxy as far as.
Like, this thing doesn't have, like, Gary Oldman in it, or, like, Mark Hamill or anything. I mean, but it's like,
they're also not overcharging you out the butt to.
Yeah. I think this thing, I think it's like 40 maybe right now, or maybe 50, but yeah, it's 40. And I think that's appropriate price for this type of game.
Yeah. Well, I meant, like, getting people to constantly give to a Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
stuff in the game.
This thing is a single player only game. Yeah. So it's not like, it's some interconnected universe and you can vote on because you're a citizen and all this other crap. It's like, no, I don't care. Like, give me a good space dogfighting game.
Hey, that's good. So,
yeah.
Like I said, it's in early access, so we don't know yet when it's going to fully release, but.
I think it's next year. Like, they're still working on it. It's coming to consoles eventually. I told Jens about it, and he seemed interested. And he was like, "Well, I don't have a PC." And I'm like, "Well, it'll hit PS5 eventually."
So Daniel is.
I know he wanted to play.
He was really excited about it too. So
yeah, but yeah, I'm just happy. Like, there's like a story, or it's not like that. Like, it's also like an RPG. Like, you like level up. And there's, like, different gear. Like, it's, like, color-coded almost to, like, green, blue. I haven't seen purple yet, but I assume it's in there somewhere. But yeah, like, you can upgrade loot as well. Like, to, like, different tiers and different levels. And yeah, I just find it runs really good. And yeah, I think it's just a really great game so far.
Well, that's good that you're enjoying it. That's again, the important part is.
Although I did have a weird. I mean, we put in requests for this game like 2 months ago, or like a month and a half ago, and I got my acceptance 2 days ago, and it's like, "Oh, you've been approved for a key." And I'm like, "All right, cool." And then I went to click on it, and it was like, "Yo, you have to adhere to the instructions, or adhere to these." Yeah, and like I clicked on it, and like nothing came up. It was completely blank, and I'm like. All right. I mean, I don't know if it just failed to load or what, but I just looked okay, and then it just pat out a key. I'm like, all right. But yeah, the game's been out for like a month and a half on Steam Early Access, so it's like.
Well, now sorry to go a little bit inside baseball here for people that don't care, but now the Evolve
terminal
Evolve terminal has changed. It's not just for press anymore; it's for anybody. So that it's sort of become like the key mailer or stuff like that, So now, and they did. To be fair, they did say that they had limited availability for keys because it's only PC right now.
Right.
And I know Keith got it on time because I saw him talking about it. We have the site doesn't have the best history with terminals because we've had people that, for whatever reason, other writers, or, that couldn't complete what they're supposed to do, and then we didn't post anything, so... that's the only way that they have because they have other games on there. It's not just that. Just explain to people. And so if you don't turn in your reviews you're supposed to do or your content, that obviously affects you to be able, they're not going to consider you as their top of the list to give a code to. So, and then that's not Marc's fault. Marc has his own. It's just more of like, they had unlimited availability and then probably they had some more keys show up and they gave it to the people and they might have given it to big fans of the series and stuff like that aren't necessarily press. So,
sure, but just like when it said like, accept their terms, and I clicked open and there was no terms, and I'm like,
yeah, that's because the embargo lifted already, I think, and they never changed it. So I'm sure there's terms just because it's early access and they don't want people posting certain things or what. I think there was one about make sure you don't label anything you do a review. Cause it's,
but like, it's funny because like, IGN has a review of the game up already, like the early access part. It's like, well,
I guess as long as you put the words early access in there, because there's people that will just see the word review and think that that's the full game, they don't.
Yeah. And like, all the time you play, I think, or at least during the cutscenes, there's always like an early access, like watermark on the screen.
Yeah. It's probably a smart thing. Anybody that wants to just screenshot.
Yeah.
Letting people know this is an early access game. Smart on their part, I think. But, anything else you wanted to
Nope.
mention?
This Everspace 2 is cool so far.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you are really liking it. And, at some point, Marc will have impressions there for you.
Yeah.
So I haven't started writing it yet because I don't get a lot of time with work. Sometimes if I don't get up right at 7 o'clock, I really have no time. So I finished the East 9, beat the game, got to the ending. Now I can start writing the review, and I enjoyed the game a lot. There's definitely some twists and turns that you don't expect, and there's a big one that they do towards the end that really changes how you can feel about the story. So that's why, even though you don't have to finish a game to review it, with RPGs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps. And especially if it's like a story-based thing. Like,
yeah, especially because RPGs the story is a major part of the game a lot of times. And if it's those things that they do at the end really make it turn sour, it can obviously affect your opinion of the game. But luckily, I found it interesting. So I don't want to spoil it for anyone, so I'm not going to even mention any ties that it may have. But I definitely, it's another East game. I didn't play a lot of 8, but it's if you like your, Kingdom Hearts action RPG, hacky and slashy, this is definitely one to check out. And the translation is a lot better for this game. I didn't notice anything big as compared to 8, where you could really notice bad translation. So I definitely think that even if you want to wait for a sale later or something like that, I definitely think if you like the East series at all, it's worth picking up. I enjoyed my time with it, and they did a lot of neat things that they added to exploration, which really helped in that game. So there's that. I've started playing Bravely Default 2. I'm still pretty early on. I've done I had the first major boss battle already, and got some of the jobs that come after the initial ones that you get at the beginning.
Yeah.
So far, I should note that this is apparently Bravely Default 2 is sort of it's a continuation of the series, but it's not story-wise. It's its own thing. So you don't have to play 1 or Bravely Second to understand this game, and they do a pretty good job of giving you tutorials and everything for the Bravely and Default system, which if you played Octopath Traveler, it's the same thing. You either get to hold your turn, or you can brave your turn, which is basically you take a turn that you don't have to be able to get an extra attack, but then that also means that if you brave, one or two times, you don't get to attack for that turn those turns at all. So that means the enemy gets more, to hit you more. And sometimes some of these enemies hit hard, so you can't just decide, I'm going to go all in and blast everyone, because you may feel the burn after that. So for the most part, it feels like a Bravely game or an old school RPG. You're got your quests, got your team, your party, and it's got a job system that is pretty freeform. Like everybody is good at every job, so it's not based on certain characters are great for certain jobs. It's based on what do you want to build. You also have sub jobs as well. So if you build up a certain character for a certain job, let's say the freelancer ability that is the one you start as, it eventually gets to when you get to level, I think I want to say 7 and 12, you get job point up abilities. And that makes it to where you get more job points after a battle. And so you can put that as your sub job and still have those abilities. And then you can also have another main job. So it's actually purposeful to build up a job. You don't have to keep it as your main job, but you still get those attributes. And then you can go on to another job. And you definitely do need to be having different jobs for different characters, because some of these bosses, I'm assuming, will get even tougher as it goes on. My favorite thing that I love about this game so far is as someone that does have to work, that can't just sit there and play this game for hours and hours. They have this cool thing that Nintendo used to do a lot with Street Pass for the 3DS, where you get a boat that this lady gives you as the first official side quest of the game, and you can use that to put your Switch in sleep mode and actually gain treasure and gain exploration orbs and job point orbs, which you can then put into your characters. So you're actually getting stuff while you're not playing, which is really cool because, again, there's a lot of leveling up, a lot of grinding that you have to do in this game. So that helps alleviate that some. And when you're not doing anything. So when you're sleeping or you're working and you can't play, you could put it in, go sailing and earn stuff. And I think that's a really great thing, to help navigate some of that grindy aspect.
It's just like Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed has that too?
Some of the games have that. It's not quite as passive as this one, but it's like Assassin's Creed 4 had it, I know for sure. You have your whole Kenway ship fleet. You can send people out to do missions. And it's look, they'll come back in 8 hours with a bunch of crap for you. It's all right, cool.
Yeah, there is a maximum of 12 hours to it. So you can't just leave it on forever, and you eventually do have to turn it back on. I mean, you can, what I had to do, which was basically yesterday, I had enough time to be able to get ready to go to work, turn it on so I could get the stuff from when I was asleep, and then put it back on there because I had to go to work. So, it is neat, and I've been able to level up my characters, at least quite a few levels with some of the orbs that I've got. So, without even having to battle, which is nice. Cause, battling is fun in that game. I really enjoy it. But again, it's just a lot of battling, and at least it's not random. You do see the characters on the screen, and they have this cool, mechanic where, other games have done this too, but they have this cool mechanic where when you're either they're too powerful or you're too powerful, because if they're very powerful, they start glowing, and if you're too powerful, they actually cry and start running away. So it's a nice indicator to let you know, okay, you're leveled up enough, you're good. You don't have to keep leveling, so that's good too. But yeah, that's as far as I've gotten. It's, like I said, there's some good stuff in there. I'm sure there will be things that bother me the further I get in the game, but we'll see. This is also kind of right in my wheelhouse, so might be a little bit more forgiving, I guess, than some people. We'll see how that goes. And the characters are all mostly voice acted. There's little, Yakuza had this too with the character moments. Trails does this a lot, where you have where your party can talk to each other. Little party chat things.
Right.
That part's not voiced, but the rest of the time, and other when you talk to a certain NPC, like when you talk to NPCs that are just out in the world, in Thought Bubbles, those aren't voiced either, but for some of the quests and for the main story, it is. So,
yeah.
And they have like, oh my god, the gambit of accents. The first team that you fight is like an Australian girl and a Swedish dude, and then most of your characters are English or Scottish, and they have the old medieval. This one older gentleman, which makes sense, he's old. Talks like, thou this and thy shall not, whatever. So yeah, get ready for that as well. But moving along to, I guess, the next bit of news stuff that we have in here aside from the game. So at least we had quite a bit to talk about there. Speaking of Square Enix, this was something I think like the day after the podcast or a couple of days after the podcast, they had announced that the group that made the Panzer Dragoon remake, which I have on the Switch, it's decent. I wouldn't say it's, something great or anything. That's of course the Sega Saturn game. Forever Entertainment has been brought in by Square as part of an agreement to work on some remakes, which they haven't detailed which ones they are. Forever Entertainment will get 50% of the sales for each game, so we'll see. Man, now that they've really run the gambit of the Saga games and the Mana games, like, it kind of does open up like what they could be remaking. Well,
you and I both want Parasite Eve. That's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, Parasite Eve would be great. I'd love that. If they decided to, port Chrono Trigger
again
to consoles, to like modern consoles, it'd be great. Because
not the DS version.
Yeah, if they wanted to port the DS version, they could. It just, I don't know what else they could add. They found a way to add something besides just bringing over the stuff from the PS1 version, but it's been enough of generations where you could put it put it on the Switch and put it on these modern consoles, so it's not just stuck on a DS.
They can remake Air Guys, that wrestling's Final Fantasy game.
Don't think that's going to be in the next.
I actually have that, so.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to go too wild about it, because I feel like if you get too crazy about it, we're gonna be disappointed. But it is interesting to see what Square feels like is worth bringing in somebody else to remake that they don't have time to do.
It'll be that Chocobo kart racer.
They did remake that Chocobo Dungeon game, remaster it not too long ago, so wouldn't be surprised.
It'll be Threads of Fate, but all the costumes will not just be DLC, so you have to pay for it.
It'd be cool if they could, maybe some Enix properties. They had been doing some stuff with the Star Ocean series.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Valkyrie Profile, that's kind of been stuck on systems that you can't really play anymore. So, surprise us, Forever Entertainment. Just hope it's good. That's all I care about. Just hope it's good. One of the more, I guess, the bigger stories was Epic continues its buying of studios, as they've acquired the Mediatonic Group. Of course, they're most known now for making Fall Guys. Of course, they did let everybody know that, don't worry, Epic is not removing it from Steam or taking it away from other platforms. It's going to be there. Now, the thing is, if they make a Fall Guys 2, will that be there?
It's like, it'll be there for a while. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm sure it'll be leaving Steam eventually, just like Rocket League did.
Yeah. We'll see. I think the important part is that this helps give Fall Guys more depth and make it better. Obviously, I haven't played Rocket League in a long time, so I don't know how much better it's gotten.
I saw this as kind of I see most acquisitions as kind of a bad thing, but like Epic especially, like they buy a studio and they just like do nothing with it.
Well, they're buying these like service games.
Yeah.
So like what else are you really going to do other than doing another season of I mean, like, maybe the developer itself doesn't want to make a Rocket League 2 and shut out everybody else.
I mean, sure, but I mean, mine is more like, what is it? Share Entertainment. Like, they made, Shadow Complex, 12 years ago. And since then they did like 3 Infinity Blade games, and that's about it. That's not a great use of your time. And I think like Chair, like one of the guys from Chair was like, oh, we had Shadow Complex 2 spec'd out, but we just wanted the money for it. Or, and it's like, you're owned by Epic. Like, what do you mean you don't have the money for it?
Yeah, that is weird. I get it. Like, their whole thing is live service games. I mean, they're living off Fortnite.
Yeah.
And if that's what they're moving towards, they're trying to see if a game becomes successful enough and then just buy the studio that made it. Yeah,
but like with Shadow Complex in particular, it's like, well, Metroidvanias are popular. Like, look at Bloodstained. Like, that wouldn't have gotten, $2 million or $3 million or whatever the hell else got it because people didn't want that. So, hell, if you're that hard for money, just say kickstart Shadow Complex 2. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's crazy with the success that like Supergiant had with Hades as well. Like, you wouldn't try to, hey, do we have a game like that in our portfolio that's pretty close? Oh, we do? Let's do something with that to try to capitalize. But again, I feel like they're just, hey, we'll buy exclusivity and then we'll also buy these studios that we don't have to do anything with them. We just have to give them more money so they can keep doing the thing that they're doing. And I mean, I guess that's an approach, right? So,
I guess it's better than buying a studio and then shutting it down.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, we don't have to worry about, okay, what are they doing? What is, like, this is just a studio that can kind of do its own thing, keep doing what it was already doing. And, okay, we'll just, they don't really even do an approval process. They supposedly just, like, let them do their own thing. So, I think when you're trying to make a new IP or make an IP that's not live service for them, they feel like they have to be more hands-on and maybe they just don't want to do that. I don't know. They get so much now from also having the store and doing all those developer-friendly things and then also, getting stuff from their exclusivity deals that, and maybe they don't have to have Chair Entertainment make another game or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes for Fall Guys. I definitely would, like Marc said, you'll eventually see, at some point, Fall Guys will probably leave the store after a long while, which, unfortunately.
I see it as probably another year.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, we're gonna see this. We're gonna see, this, Microsoft's gonna announce something with Bethesda because they just closed the deal. A couple of days ago now. So we'll see if how many games are gonna go to Sony and if there's gonna be any exclusives. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people with takes about that. Being upset. So talking about service games, Avengers, which they're trying to do something to get people to get motivated to play that game again. The Kate Bishop thing seems to be helping, but not that much. And after hearing several people talk about this on different podcasts and that are fans of Avengers, one of them being, kind of funny with Greg Miller, who's a huge fan of the Avengers game here. What they're trying to do is apparently change leveling up, just the actual experience, and making sure that you don't level up too fast. But the thing is, this is more like Destiny. It's not just getting to level 50. So it's not like WoW or another MMO or something where it's like, you gotta get to this level. It's getting to this level and then also doing the Destiny thing that, I don't know if you still do it now, but you used to, you have to get your armor or your whatever to a certain level as well before you can get into the end game.
Yeah.
And that part is already slow. And then you're gonna slow the part that helps people get their friends in it fast, which is leveling up. I don't know if that's great.
No. This is the wrong move, I think.
Yeah, it's weird. I get it that you don't want people leveling up in one area, like by 6 levels or whatever that quickly, but it also makes it harder for people to say, hey, you like the Avengers, right? Like, hey, let's play this game together. Oh, it's going to take you forever to get to like where I actually have powers that feel like so.
Yeah, well, like the guy who was talking about this, he was like, oh, we looked at our progression system and it's a straight line. Like, there's no, it doesn't get any higher, or it doesn't get any worse, like the higher you are. And it's like, that's a good thing. Like, you don't realize that, but level scaling is bad.
Yeah, I mean, so his explanation is the current XP curve isn't really a curve at all. In most RPGs, the amount of XP you need to level up increases as you gain levels in a curve, but our system is a straight line. So basically what he's saying is that, I mean, most RPGs, right, like, you have the stats, when you hit that status bar, you'll see that your XP increases, like, the amount that you actually have to get to the next level is bigger.
Level 2 to level 3, you'll need like 200 XP, but to go from like level 20 to 21, you'll need like, 20,000 or something.
Exactly. They don't have that apparently, which, okay, that's your fault for not implementing that at the beginning. But
I would say that's a good thing they don't have that. Like, that's the thing is like, yeah, like I don't want that. Like,
well, that's the thing. I agree with you in that if you're going to have 2 things that you have to level up, you need to make one of them quick. Because if both of them are grind, people are going to get to the point where they'll just be like, I'm done with this game, because why am I going to sit here for hours and hours and hours just to get to the point where it feels cool to play as an Avenger? Like,
don't worry, people have already said that before this nonsense already happened.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you're not helping yourself.
So I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I just think back to Marvel Heroes, that like Diablo Marvel game from a few years ago. Like,
right.
You could run through that game from like a level 1 character. You might not hit like level 60, like that was the level cap, but you can run through the story and hit damn near close to that by finishing the story. And it's like, that's what I would want it to be. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to like go through the campaign and like, oh, my character is now like level 8. And it's like, oh, there's only 40 more levels to go.
And that's the thing too, is like, okay, there's multiple characters. It's not like create a character and you do stuff with that one character. You're playing as these Avengers, and yes, you do have your favorite, and most people like to have variety, right? Of being able to have more than just one. So if I already leveled out Captain America and now I want to go and play as Thor, well, I have to do that whole process over again, and you're going to make it harder? Like, no.
Also, I don't know if they fix this, but I know at launch, like, let's say you wanted to do like a group party, you couldn't have duplicate characters.
Oh, that makes sense. I think it did eventually get fixed. Yeah, I think they did say that it was.
I mean, they probably fixed it, but it's like, no, that's to your point. Like, let's say you just want to play Iron Man, and you got like a max level Iron Man. It's like, okay, I want to do this dungeon with my friends. My friend also has an Iron Man, so it's like, now you're screwed.
Yeah, it is one of those things where hopefully, if there is enough in the Avengers community, I don't know how much.
Yeah.
Avengers community is left.
That's the thing. I think this is a way for them to like draw out the community, or like, make them play longer. But it's like that. Right. This is going to be the opposite effect. Like, if anything, you should be increasing the level experience system, or hit next level within like a few days. Not, it's going to take you 6 months.
Right, because you still got to go through the part of like getting that next part up to like, I think it's like 150 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you can be at all the max for whenever the heck they're going to put in more endgame stuff. So
right.
That's the thing there's already a challenge. You don't need to do that again.
If they ever put in more endgame stuff.
Well, I mean, okay, so they're adding all these characters in, and that's what's funny too, is apparently they're going to do this right around the time where you're going to add in Hawkeye. So, like, you're going to add in a new character that a lot of people are going to want to level up, and you're going to make it annoying to do so. Like,
right.
I don't know. It's not the best idea, but
I think about like, wow, like, back in the day, like, it was a long ass process to like level up characters and alts. Now, like, you can literally buy a potion that does it, but aside from that, like, it is so inconsistent. Like, you can like level a character from like, baseline to like the max level. And, like, I mean, if you really want to add like just a week.
Yeah. But isn't that the point though? Like, Diablo it's supposed to be fun to the point where you want to try out different classes and level up. And if it took well, Diablo, you had the different classes too. I'm saying like, if you wanted to, you start as a sorcerer and then you want to go be a rogue, like it doesn't take that long to be able to also level up that rogue and get loot for them and whatever. If they made that even more difficult, it will make you not want to go back to the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with as much as we just learned about Anthem, it's weird that you would do things to make the game go backwards. Destiny had this problem too. They eventually had to fix it. Like, there's so much out there to learn from, and I don't know why.
Yeah, the fact that people don't, like, take lessons from failed games, and, like...
I mean, and this is stuff that it's not like you have to go and play it, right? There's enough written about it that you can just read stuff and learn. So,
yeah.
I get it. Devs don't have a lot of time. I get it that they can barely ever play something that's not their own game. But I'm not saying go out and play 30 hours of Anthem. I'm talking about just go read all the stuff that people are saying was not great about Destiny, Anthem, insert service game here, and like, don't do that, so, or hire somebody that's their job.
I don't, Have one guy raise his hand in the board meeting and go, let's not do this. Let's not cripple our game.
Yeah. I mean, and you've also got to listen to those voices as well. Don't just run out and try to do the first thing to just water this down. It's not great.
Yeah.
So, to no surprise, I mean, Take-Two likes to make money. They like to do what they can to charge you a little bit. Very much like, we've seen with Activision, and EA has kind of had to learn to do the opposite, but they still have their ways of charging you for extra things as well. CEO of Take-Two says that he is totally fine with $70 games, which is why NBA 2K21 was $70, and that the public is ready for a price increase. I don't know about the word ready being appropriate here.
I might buy his argument better if NBA 2K21 wasn't like a microtransaction laden piece of crap.
Yeah, I agree with NBA 2K21. They have so much stuff that is about microtransactions.
And like, if that, like, and the second NBA 2K22 comes out, if this wasn't going to be immediately discontinued, and
yeah, I mean, he did say that, like, well, we're going to make sure that there's going to be enough content in there to justify being $70, right? Whereas, let's say, like, go ahead.
Go on.
No, I was going to say, like, Returnal right now, a lot of people are questioning, damn, is that a $70 game?
I think so. I mean, Returnal doesn't have fucking slot machines in it, so.
Right, but I feel like we saw, like, Miles Morales, right, be less.
Yeah.
Ratchet is a big franchise.
But, Miles Morales, I mean, the difference between, like, that and, like, Returnal is Miles Morales is basically an expansion pack. Like, Returnal is, like, a new game. I don't care if it's a roguelike or not. Like, that.
Right.
It's immaterial to me. Like, look at the, visuals of that game and how much story it may or may not have. Like, that's kind of the question. But if it actually has, like, a ton of story, it doesn't, good on them.
Yeah, I think the thing is that people are worried about is that, like, okay, you brought in Housemarque to do this. They had to make a transition from making Resogun and stuff like that apparently wasn't making them any, as much money as they needed, right? And then people kind of see this as, okay, it's a new IP. We're worried about it. Whereas, like, Ratchet is a known thing. You know what you're getting with Ratchet. Like, you know the gameplay loop it's going to have. You know that there's going to be some story in there. Like, okay, it's $70. All right, cool. Like, you just don't know a lot about Returnal, and people are worried about, man, should this have been a $40 game? Should this have been, will Kena wind up being $70? Like, that's another thing of, like, okay, we know what Kena is, right? We saw the trailer, but it's another new IP. People are worried about, man, am I paying $70 for something that, what if I don't like it because I don't know what it's going to be? And then that's $70, right? Where I guess they feel like Sony's being too fast about, everything that comes out now from us is going to be $70. And yes, 2K mostly makes things that 2K21, we know what that is. Like, so it's Grand Theft Auto. Definitely gonna know that there's gonna be enough stuff there. along, with Rockstar, that's going to be well worth the $70. But I'm just like, this rush to $70, you better make sure, like he says, there is enough content, because there's people that just measure content by the money. It shouldn't be that way.
I mean,
but
look at this, but I mean, this all but confirms that like GTA 5 is going to be $70 on.
Well, I mean, Final Fantasy Integrate is $70. I mean, they're baking in the Yuffie DLC extra in there as well, but you're paying $70 also for those enhancements. Like, you're not. It's still mostly the same game.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's the thing is, I get it that it's easier to say this because people will understand it, because there's a lot of people that do not give a crap about how long it takes to make a game, or that there's a lot that goes into making a game or whatever. I get that he explained it that way to make more sense for most people, but the truth of the matter is the reason why it's costing $70 is because development costs are through the roof at this point. And I mean, that's why Sony is deciding to put more games on PC, or that's what Jim Ryan's saying. People have to find different avenues to make sure that their games that they put out, these AAA experiences, make money. And I mean, what sucks is, like you said, 2K21 is not going to stop doing the microtransactions anytime soon.
Right.
With this increase. But I mean, it also costs a lot more to make 2K21 now, so.
But not really. I mean, it's not like they did like a complete engine overhaul or anything. Like, it's the same game as 2K20. They may have added like a few more shaders and like roster updates. That's about it. Like, especially for these like yearly upgrade games. Like the fact that, they have the balls to say, oh, pay $70 for this new game. It's like, what new game?
Yeah, I mean, now if that, I feel like with the sports games, you could really still put them at 60 and then just add things that you're getting to increase the $10, with those deluxe editions.
Yeah. I'd pay $70 for like Valhalla, because that's a new game. It may be built on existing engines, but like it's a whole new story and like land and stuff like that. But it's not like basketball changes from like year to year or anything.
And maybe Ubisoft will do that once it's PS5 and Series only. They might bump it up to $70. I think what it is Take-Two wants to make sure that $70 is the new standard. Is what they're really trying to say is, we want $70 to be the new standard. We haven't had a price increase since 2006, so it's time. He's being coy by saying, oh, people are ready for it. I don't think they're ready necessarily, but it's more of like, this is what it is now. Deal with it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, Activision's already wanting you to pay $10 for their upgrades. So,
I would actually, the only way I would actually do that if they said like, if you have a disc-based game, and if you pay the upgrade fee for like PS5, you don't need the disc anymore. I would do that in a second.
They won't though.
Yeah, I know, but I just don't want to, keep popping in Tony Hawk 1 and 2. I mean, I actually have the digital anyway, but that's the principle of the thing,
Well, I mean, also, like, nobody's forcing you to buy it physically either.
Sure.
So, that's the thing.
But buying physically is typically a lot cheaper. I mean, you can get a new copy of Final Fantasy VII R for $30.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it also does regularly go. I mean, has gone on sale several times for $30 as well, digitally. But you also have to wait till Sony decides that they are going to put it on sale. But I mean, I'm sure, like I said before, from now till June, it'll be on sale on one of these sales.
Right.
But I think I agree with you in that. Yeah, look at Walmart with their games are $50. If you buy it. Or Amazon will do that as well. Like, I totally get it, but that's the thing. You're paying also for the convenience of, okay, whenever they update, all I have to do is turn on the console and it'll update instead of making sure I always have that disc and whatever. So, yeah. So before we move along to, I would say, like, stuff that we're going to kind of fire away with, not necessarily spend a ton of time talking about, let's discuss something called Amazon Music. So right now, if you support us and go to our, use our link, which is, I don't know why I didn't have this, ready to go already.
Just like last time.
Which is, getamazonmusic.com/W2Network. use that link. It's in the description of the show or wherever it is you're listening to it, on the site or whatnot. And you click that, you go through the sign-up process, you get 30 days of Amazon Music Unlimited for free on us, and you help us out as well. So, like, I would really tell you that it's not just about helping us out. Amazon Music Unlimited is great. Like, I've gotten to use it with my grandma's Alexa that we have here. They play, it has a ton of music. You know, Jens talked about there's a lot of video game stuff that's, you know, with Persona and Final Fantasy 7. But I mean, there's pretty much like any artist that you want to find, it's there as well.
Yeah.
And you may already have your music company of choice that you like for your streaming music service. But hey, why not take 30 days to figure out if you like Amazon Music as well? And I mean, I think you also get access to Audible if you are in that. So if you like hearing books read to you instead of you having to read the book, you can do that too. And hey, we're on Audible, so if you get Audible, you can listen to us through there as well.
Yeah.
But all right, that's enough advertising for one show here. Definitely go check that out, folks. So one surprise announcement that we got this week: Cold Iron Studios showed off the Aliens Fireteam, a new co-op third-person survival shooter set in the Alien universe. There was also like a premiere event that a lot of journalists got to go to. So that's where a lot of this info comes from. It's going to be on the old gen consoles as well as the new gen consoles. No Switch. So just letting you know they're in the summer of 2021. And this is the first project from Cold Iron Studios, which this is the folks that created City of Heroes and Star Trek Online, Neverwinter Nights. So a lot of pedigree there.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
I mean, I have two problems, kind of. One, like the studio in question, they're not known for making shooters.
Yeah.
Like there is shooting in Star Trek Online, but it's not great shooting. Let's say that.
Right.
And two, like very few Alien games are good. It's pretty much Alien Colonial. It's pretty much Alien Isolation and like Alien versus.
Which that's a different game. That's a survival.
Yeah, that's like a horror game, really. I mean, and Alien vs. Predator on the Jaguar. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, well, like some people like that Predator's Hunting Ground game. Or, you know.
Well, that's a Predator game. That's not an Alien game.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so that's not.
But like, you know, look at like Alien Colonial Marines. Like they're like, oh, it's a sequel to Aliens. It's like, okay, no.
I mean, how much would it have improved the game if we had figured out the bug a long time ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's always skepticism, right, of you're going to have this new studio, not used to making this type of game. They have developers that have pedigree.
Yeah. Like their pedigree is like mainly MMO focused or, you know, stuff like that.
I think there's always a chance to learn and grow, and I think getting to do something with the Aliens franchise is cool. I mean, this is supposed to be like 23 years after the original Alien film trilogy, and you're a new colonial marine, so
you can always wheel out Michael Biehn again and be like, "Oh, Hicks didn't die in Aliens."
Yeah, I like. Unfortunately, like we didn't get to go to the event or whatever. So you know, we don't have like firsthand info on it. But I mean, from what I've read, it feels like there's going to be some fun things in there. I like the fact that it's co-op as well, and then how much survival elements is there going to be in it?
Yeah.
You know, along with being a shooter. So that's going to be interesting.
Well, it's funny because Jens didn't want to play. I mean, I don't think he did. We did it, but that new Ghost Recon game, not Wildlands.
Breakpoint.
Yeah, because they said like initially like, oh, it's going to be a survival based Ghost Recon game, but like that game came out, no one liked the survival aspect, so they immediately basically eliminated them completely.
Well, I mean, that's yeah, no. When the game wasn't doing well, they just said, "Okay, let's change it." So, maybe he'll come around to it. This is a cool thing. So apparently the old Diablo 2 saves will work in the remaster. Of course, they told IGN Middle East that even though the game is more than 2 decades old, your save file from that original game will be able to work in Diablo 2 Resurrected. So you don't have to start brand new. You can start with the character you already have, which that's cool. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah. I think the story is like, oh, we tried to load up an old save and hey, it worked.
Yeah. I mean, so with this, well, you said you didn't play that much of 2, but let's say.
Well, like, it'd be fun. It'd be interesting to create like a god tier character, like just by cheating, and to see if it actually worked as well.
I guess you could, but I mean, like, as someone that, like, okay, let's say with Diablo 3, for example, if you're getting a remaster and you were able to load up your save with your old character, would that really entice you to want to get the remaster then, since you don't have to just start brand new with that same character again? Or
yeah.
I mean, that's cool. They didn't have to add that at all. They could have just said, okay, well, if you like the whole game and you want to restart, you have to restart all over. So now you don't. You can just keep doing your thing, but it looks nicer and has better quality of life features.
Right.
So this is like something from last week, sort of, that Sony, this kind of goes with the PSVR 2, in that they're had a mock-up of a patent that was using a picture with a banana. That they could basically use the banana as well to create inputs. Then saying, like, oh, you have to use the DualSense controller. Well, now you could use a banana. You could use an orange. You could use another household item, I guess. I mean, that's cool, right? Like, it's the same thing as games that started being able to let you use your phone, so you wouldn't have to buy like a controller. I think that that's a good idea, because when you're trying to get, especially with like VR, right? You getting people in with the least amount of money that they have to pay is always a good idea. So if I could use a banana that I already have at my house to control things, sure.
They're just really like they're repurposing the old PS3 Batarang controller.
I mean, it's better than using those Move ones, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to go through the trouble of trying to find Move ones, because it seemed like every time, right around when I bought the PSVR and I wanted to play Beat Saber really bad, there seemed like nobody had Move ones. So,
right.
Like, trying to buy them, like, second, third hand sucked. So if, I could have done that without having to have those Move ones and use something I already had, I mean, it's not, that's a good thing. I mean, will this ever see the light today?
Nope.
Who knows? But, excuse me, it's cool that it's being made. So also Sony has decided to, I guess, as the PS4 gets older, and also, I guess, to sort of streamline, things for them, they are going to remove communities from the PS4. So, this let you make groups around interests that you already had. Xbox has the same thing like that too. That actually lets you, like, talk to people, and it made it easier to, like, join in your online game. This is kind of the same thing that Sony has as well. And I don't know, maybe they're just gonna remove it because, assuming you're going to be migrating from the PS4 to the PS5 eventually, and they'll probably have a new community-based thing over there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we see this a lot as the consoles start getting older, they stopped adopting, so it kind of forced you to move over as well. So.
Yeah. I'm sure it's also like, it's probably like a huge resource drain, but I'm sure it's like somewhat of a resource drain. Like, so, I don't know, did you ever use that feature much?
I did not. No.
Neither did I.
Did a little bit on the Xbox when I was still playing Rock Band, because it was easier to find people that way. I wanted to play at that moment, right? Because none of my friends were on. I could go in there and find someone that wanted to play, but after I stopped, like, really playing that much, I never used it again. So.
Right.
Now, this is sort of more of a resource drain, and this is going to be, in general, for all PlayStation products. Starting August 31st of 2021, the video content will no longer be available to be bought via the digital storefront. This is talking about video, like movies and TV shows, stuff like that. So you won't be able to rent stuff or buy movies from the PlayStation Store itself. Like, I agree, right? Like, there's so many different video streaming services, and most of them are already on the consoles.
Right, yeah.
Like, why do you also need to have that in your PlayStation Store? It's an extra thing that you have to keep up with constantly. Make that more focused on games. So, cause sometimes they would have a sale and they're also including
like TV shows.
Yeah, TV shows. So then it's like, okay, I don't care. And most people had that reaction, I think, as well, of, I'll buy this on something else that I only use for video, not on my console.
Right. Or why would you want to buy something to have it just be like locked to one platform? You could just buy it on Amazon or
yeah, especially when
iTunes or Voodoo
some of that
or whatever.
stuff didn't pass over. Like, a lot of your from PS3 to PS4 it didn't go through.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, what if they decided to do that again at some point and then like, well, I bought that thing. Why do I have to go buy it again? And it's just a resource that they have to continually, if you just remove it, then people stop even thinking about buying that on there and they'll go to a service that may keep that for longer.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal. Like, and,
Sony should bring back the UHD format for the PSP.
UMD thing?
UMD, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Like, let's do that. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for, this show. I hope, you enjoyed everything you heard. If you didn't, you can let us know.
You want to talk about WandaVision?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. So used to like, we have certain times when we talk about entertainment stuff and then times when we don't. So, alright, WandaVision. So, what did you think of, I guess, we kind of already knew it was going this way, but it felt like everybody was saying, okay, there's somebody else behind this, right? Like
everyone thought it was Dottie because they actually cast a somewhat recognizable name in the role.
Yeah.
And like, I think Agnes said at one point, like, oh, she's like the queen bee of the neighborhood or something like that.
Yeah.
And also, her, go on.
No, I was saying, like, it just felt like, man, okay, you kind of know that, Angela is in the comics, she's not a villain, necessarily.
Agnes.
She's like, Agnes, sorry.
Agatha, sorry, but.
Yeah, I mean, Agatha is not necessarily a villain in the comics, she's more of like a mentor.
Well, she's not like destroy the world type villain, but she kind of varies between like mentor and like anti-hero or, duplicitous person.
Yeah, I mean, she was doing that in that final episode,
Yeah.
So, like, you can see that, and even they hint towards it in the final, like, scene of, oh, she may go back to her to talk to her about certain things or whatever, but it's just, to me, I like the ending. I feel like this is the way it's gotta end. Like, you can't keep the fantasy forever,
See, I thought, I guess I didn't mind, Scarlet Witch's ending, but I think a lot of side characters in that thing got really overshadowed or very kind of, I would say, punked out. Like, what Darcy had like one line in the entire last episode.
Yeah, like getting her, letting her not say anything. I mean, she did play a critical part, like she stopped,
well, she stopped Haywood from leaving. Yeah. She's like, that was her line is like, oh, enjoy jail or something like that. But it's like, okay, like, you couldn't do anything else with her. I thought, I know she's gonna come back and I think Captain Marvel too, but I thought like Monica got kind of shafted also.
Yeah, she did a little bit. I mean, but she still got to help some.
Yeah. But
that's the thing though, it's like they're not the major characters, so at some point.
Well, she kind of is. Or mine.
I mean, she's a major side character, but like the whole point is like what happens to Wanda and what happens to Vision. How does this set up Doctor Strange 2, which is now being called Multiverse of Madness? So, like,
well, it's been called that for a while. Well, I mean, I assume for that it'll just be she goes to visit him and they try to rescue her son from some parallel dimension or something like that.
Yeah, I imagine it does have to do something with her sons because that's still what she was trying to do at the end, where she's reading that tome or whatever, which is funny because that has also been in Age of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's been in The Runaways. So
yeah.
Will there be any kind of connection to them at all?
No.
Yeah.
Also, I was kind of, the thing I was really left curious about was White Vision. Like, what's up with him?
Well, okay, he got his memories, so he has the memories, but like, what they were talking about in that scene where they were fighting each other, like, it felt like he's telling him, okay, you're not really Vision until you get every part of why I'm Vision, right?
Yeah.
So he gave him the memories. Now it's like, okay, it's up to you to find out.
Well, I guess what I thought was like him and regular, or the Purple Vision merged. Like when they came out of the library, I thought that was gonna be like White Vision, like not how he looked, but like, he's like, I can turn back to my old form or my old color
yeah, he
scheme.
says, I'm the Vision now.
Yeah,
because he has the memories.
But then he still got disintegrated, like at the end of the show. It's like, okay, so is the white one still around then? Or...
Yeah, that's the point. It's the white one is still around. So,
yeah.
Like at some point, I guess she's gonna find the white one and try to humanize him, like she did the original Vision. I don't know. I mean, in the comics, like he's supposed to be much more like angry, right? Or
in the comics, he gets killed and brought back a lot. So
yes, we'll see. I mean, he's an android; they could do that. But yeah, no, I like what they're doing with Monica. They kind of set it up. I guess that's how they're gonna hook up for Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they tell us a little bit more story about her mom, I guess, and then we'll see what happens there. I like the Ralph Boner reveal.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
That was kind of a weird twist, because everyone was expecting him to speak, Pietro from X-Men, and I guess it wasn't.
Yeah, he's just being controlled by Agatha the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I like the name, that was fun. Yeah, I like what they did with eventually the, townsfolk, figured it out and, let you know that she was also, torturing them, sort of. So they were, going through some shit, the way that, Scarlet Witch was going through. So, yeah, I might, I know people that didn't like the ending. I think there's, obviously leaves you with questions.
It was fine,
I thought the series overall, I thought it's pretty good though. For being the first one out of the gate, that bar is kind of set kind of high now. So I don't know that, that'll be really surprising if Winter Soldier and Falcon, actually meet that, because it's a different thing, obviously, number one. And then number two, it's not as big a characters as, say, Scarlet Witch and Vision have been in the Avengers series. So
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Especially Winter Soldier, he's kind of big. That show looks a lot more straightforward.
Yeah.
And doesn't have the sitcom, pastiche around it.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
It will be interesting to see how much they bring up, Captain America. Will one of them, or will one of them eventually take that mantle, or not?
Also, the fact that those two are kind of an old bickering married couple, in the movie at least. Too. So
there'll be comedy in there with that. So that'll
and I really like what's his name? Daniel Bruhl. He's going to be back in that, so that'll be good.
Yeah, I think obviously you have that, and then you have Loki as well, which I think a lot of people are really hoping very much sets another bar for what the shows could be if you're focusing on one character from the main series. So it's good. I'm glad that we got WandaVision. We get to see what this can be, and so far it's been impressive. So it's good for Disney Plus because they need more content. And if this keeps being successful, that means they can do more shows with other characters that may not get a movie, but or with groups of characters that maybe they don't feel okay, this is not good enough to be a movie, but it could be a series. And then also that it has the full weight of Marvel behind it, where they're gonna really care about it, and it's not gonna be like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that felt it went on a long time, and there were a lot of times where it felt okay.
Well, they did good stuff in that show, but it got increasingly more disconnected from the MCU as it went on.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you saw, I think earlier this week or late last week, I guess Disney got the rights back to Jessica Jones and I think the Punisher.
Yeah. And they already had him for Daredevil a little while ago.
Yeah, I'm sure they had the Iron Fist one as well. But I think people still really want Jessica Jones to come back at least, and Daredevil. So
yeah, I mean, but they could do that. They could do another Defenders show and have it be much better, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the biggest, that seemed to be like the major complaint is after Luke Cage, it kind of dipped the quality.
Yeah. Like even Jessica Jones, like season 3 or 2 and 3 weren't great. It felt kind of strange.
Yeah. And then like the hype to bring them all together, the Defenders series wasn't, I
mean, it had good elements, but yeah, I don't think it was a successful show overall.
Yeah. And that's, if they can they can bring them together and make it a much more successful thing.
Yeah.
And then that's the cool thing too, is if you have these TV shows, if you drop them for a cameo in the movie, people know who they are, and it's a big deal, right? And then instead of having to waste, yes, you're still getting, for a lot of this, you're still getting like movie style production, for these shows, but like, it's different way of telling the story, and so you don't have to just build this 2-hour movie around these characters, right? So, yeah, I really hope that this keeps succeeding and we can get more out of it.
Right.
But alright, now, for real this time, we're done for this show. So if, what are your thoughts on WandaVision, or do you think that we're getting a Switch Pro or a Switch 2 and what's going to be in there? You can let us know on Twitter at W2 Network, at W2 Sean, that's me, at Humanity Plague. That's Mark. You can go drop Jens a line as well at Aperture Silence, obviously doing the wonderful editing thing. And they finished the Resident Evil movie series now. So that's all there in its entirety now for it, whether you subscribe to Chapter Select or just the whole W2 Network. In general, you can go listen to them, Randy and him, talk about all those freaking Resident Evil movies. They still did something major that I think Mark and I would never tackle, torturing ourselves that way. But, I think Jens likes that in a way. So.
He likes bad stuff, so yes.
But yeah, definitely we'll be back next week. Hopefully there is more to talk about as well. And man, I think this is where you start hitting that another little bit of a lull with games coming out. I think there was only one game that I was really interested in for this month. It comes out like around the 18th, called Minute of Islands. It's like an indie game that has like a really cool like aesthetic that seems like they're kind of like you're inside of a body or you're dead, or I couldn't figure quite what it is, but it looks cool. I like it anyway. I think everything else, like, you're getting into that point where, you have that Yakuza Like a Dragon, that you could go
buy the PS5 version came out. Yeah.
Because the save doesn't transfer in the PS4, so if you didn't buy it on PS4, I definitely would recommend getting it on PS5 for sure. That's already out there. That Maquette game is actually pretty interesting if you haven't picked it up on PS Plus. And Sea of Solitude has been out for Switch, so you can go pick that up. And that Mortal Shell, the remasters or whatever, for PS5 and Xbox, and Nosha, that Genosha game, which is that visual novel that's on Switch.
Yeah.
Came out as well from that. Oh, I forgot to talk about that new game plus expo, but honestly, after I was watching it while I was writing up the thing about the Switch, and there really wasn't anything that just like jumped out at me to go, I was like, oh god, I'm really gonna pick that up. There was some cool things, but a lot of it was more of like, okay, I'll wait and see how that turns out. Not so much, I want to get that right now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that Crash, PS5 upgrade that you can, pick up, and it'll be coming to Switch as well, and RBI Baseball 21, if you're getting ready for that baseball. Definitely check that out too. Oh, I forgot about Stubbs coming out.
That's fun.
Maybe see if I want to check that out or not. But alright guys, until next week, we'll see you later.
Later.